Happy Saturday, y'all. Always a good time.
Congratulations. Ever since being traded from Philadelphia, he's looked amazing. He's not just managing the game, he is taking it to the
Sadly
next
enough,
level. He's
just
finding
5 years
receivers.
ago, that was me. Minimal to no broadcasting training or any skills. I'm Jansen Harris, CEO of the Just Good Network. Over the last 5 years, I've come up with practical ways to get better speaking with confidence on camera and doing voiceovers. It doesn't matter if you're 5 years old, if you're 70, if you dropped out of high school, if you have a GED, if you have 15 years experience in a different field. There are practical techniques that you could do day by day to get better, week by week. And I have a training program for that. If you're interested in getting better in transparent and practical ways, inbox me today or visit us at justgoodnetwork.org. Let's get better together.
Good morning, everybody. Jansen Harris here at the Final Play on the Just Good Network. Joining me is Sean Fowler and Ethan Smith. What's up, y'all?
So, man, how you doing? Good morning.
I'm doing good. It's Saturday morning. I'm always in a good mood on Saturday. Who doesn't like Saturdays? It's way better than a manic Monday. We are presented by the Level 1 Game Room, and we are presented by Your Future Media. Let's talk some NFL. Let's talk about America's team, right? Or if y'all still want to consider America's team, even though they haven't won a championship in so long, we're going to still consider them America's team, right? The Dallas Cowboys. Let's talk about Dak Prescott. Let's talk about this Super Bowl run. Can he lead them to the Super Bowl, Sean? We'll start with you.
I believe in Dak. You know, I remember his rookie year coming out from Mississippi State. I said, you know, some guys just have that leadership quality. You know what I mean? And I said it was a big steal for the Cowboys. I think even when we reconnected in 2018, Jansen, I was like, nah, man, Dak's the real deal. You know, and he led the team his rookie year to the divisional round playoff game, got beat against the Green Bay Packers. I believe he was in consideration for Rookie of the Year. I forget if he got it or not, but since then, I believe Dak has continued to steady progress. You know, his career. You know, he's been a lot better at quarterback. And we've seen last year he got hurt. I believe the fifth game against the New York Giants, but he was, you know, there were shootouts, and there were shootouts with this offense. And this year he started off well against the Bucs, even though he wasn't special, as Jansen liked to say, against Tom Brady and the Bucs, and ended up losing. But he's had a decent season. More this last quarter of the season, last 4 games, Dak has kind of been, you know, up and down, which is why, you know, I raised the question as well, can he really lead the Cowboys to the Super Bowl? But I do believe in Dak. I think he's still, to me, arguably a top 10 quarterback in the NFL today. You know, I think he still has intangibles to do it. He doesn't necessarily have to have the best arm, but I think they have enough weapons on that team where, you know what, I don't see the Cowboys going one and done. I'm not saying they're a bet to make the Super Bowl, you know, because I think the Rams, the Packers, and the Bucs and the Cowboys are like the top 4 teams in the conference, mixed in with Arizona. But I think Dak is talented enough to get the Cowboys to the Super Bowl. I don't think he's necessarily holding them back, because if you take out Dak, I don't see this team making it, you know, further or any further at all if Dak's not in the lineup, because how talented he is. So I do believe Dak is talented enough to get them to the Super Bowl. However, I mean, hey, yeah, I think he can do it. But if I'm going from a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at a 6.5, because I mean, hey, push come to shove, we have to see, you know, because he only has 1 playoff win and 2 playoff losses. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, Ethan, your thoughts on Dak Prescott potentially leading the Cowboys to the Super Bowl? Look, the NFC's pretty stacked too. Like you were saying, Sean, Rams, Bucs, Arizona, Packers. There's a lot of big-time teams there. I personally think that the Cowboys in the AFC might be the second-best team if they were in the AFC. But NFC, I don't know. Ethan, what's your thoughts on Dak Prescott leading this team to the Super Bowl?
I mean, like you've seen all season with Dak, he's dominated the NFC East, obviously. He'll dominate the Eagles tonight. I have no doubt in my mind that he will do that. As far as a playoff run goes, I don't even really think I'm worried about Dak. I'm worried about everything else. I'm worried about the play calling that Mike McCarthy is going to lay out there. I'm worried about, is Ezekiel Elliott going to give me the carries that I need and the yards that I need to then further give what I think is Dak's best trait, which is the play action pass game. If you can play action pass with CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, and now Michael Gallup, of course, goes down to injury. But I mean, even CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper and Dalton Schultz, who is a top 5 tight end in football this year statistically, I mean, realistically, are those pieces going to help Dak enough to the point where they can make this playoff run? I agree with you, Sean. I think they can win one playoff game, but then when they get to that upper echelon, playing either Green Bay or Tampa or maybe even the Rams, I just don't see the Cowboys beating any of those teams, but I can see them beating one of the wild card teams in the first round.
Ethan, I'm glad you said that. Let's stick to the Cowboys and continue with this. Last game, Elliott, 9 carries, 18 yards. Why are they not feeding him the ball? Is there something I'm missing? Pollard didn't really get that many carries either. Why isn't this team running the football?
It's a good question. You might want to ask the Browns that same question too, because it's a recipe for success that both of these teams should use, and I don't know why the Cowboys ever went away from it. I mean, you saw what Zeke did in his rookie season, put himself on the map immediately, put the Cowboys again on the map immediately. And then it seems like ever since then, they've just kind of said, no, we're going to go air raid. We're going to go get CeeDee Lamb in the draft. We're going to have all these great receivers. That doesn't work all the time. You have to be able to run the football to win playoff games in the NFL. That's really all it is. That's all there is to it. You have to be able to run the football.
Yeah, look, the running game needs to improve. And the big plays like Amari Cooper, and he kind of called out the coaching staff, maybe wanting to be used more, but he hasn't had a 100-yard game since October 31st. To me, that's unacceptable. I don't know why he's not getting the ball. And even Dak Prescott, outside of the NFC East, really, they're kind of struggling. This defense, too, is really talented. Michael Parsons, obviously, is a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. He's going to win Rookie Defensive Player of the Year. He's a sack guy, a lot of tackles for loss. He's doing this thing. I can't hate. But this defense, I still wonder, are they going to show up if they play at Green Bay? Are they going to show up if they play the Rams? I'll tell you this, too, and we're going to talk about the Rams a little bit going down the line. And Mr. Pick Six, Matthew Stafford, that's what he's kind of been, right? Will they be able to create those turnovers? That's the real question to me is Dallas. In the AFC, I believe Dallas can make some noise. I would just be worried maybe a little bit about New England and obviously the Chiefs, who they lost to in a close defensive battle. But in the NFC, man, I don't even know if they get out the first round at this point. The Cardinals, you saw what they did to them. The Cardinals look really good. So NFC is so stacked. It could go either way. But I think tonight, the Dallas Cowboys need to make a statement. Tonight needs to be a statement game because some people are thinking the Eagles, and I agree with you, Ethan, are better than they're rolling. They're winning a lot of games in a row, things like that. They're looking competitive. I don't believe in the Eagles either. I don't believe in any team in the NFC East. I think that's what makes the Cowboys look really good, but we'll see. We'll see. Anything could happen in the playoffs. Let's talk about the Rams and Matthew Stafford, another quarterback, another team that Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, the list goes on. Odell Beckham Jr., making a trade for him. A lot of pieces on this team. Cooper Kupp, who to me is an MVP-like guy, maybe about to get 2K yards and break the record. I think he was speaking facts when he came out and said the 17-game season. Seems like a classy guy. He's a monster, though. Let me say that. He's a monster. To me, my opinion, I think he's the best receiver this year. From what I see, he is consistent. And if you're a betting man, you can bet on him getting 100 yards literally every single game. But back to Matthew Stafford and the Rams as a whole team. Sean, I'll start with you on this one. Can Matthew Stafford lead this Rams team to the Super Bowl? Do you have any concerns at this point about the Rams?
I do have concerns with the Rams, and it is Matthew Stafford. The defense is playing a little bit better. You know, when they first acquired Von Miller, of course, we're like, man, this is like a Madden matchup. You got Von Miller, you have Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, and they got beat against the Titans. They got beat against the San Francisco 49ers. I think they ran for over like 200 yards and just run the ball down their throat, you know, and I think they lost 2 or 3 games in a row, but they've been coming back to speed, beat Jacksonville, you know, won last week. You know, in a tough matchup. Forget who they just played, excuse me. But, you know, so the Rams, it is Stafford because they play Baltimore, you know. So Stafford is, I believe, the first drive or the second drive was a pick six. You know, he's had some pick six, like you said, Jansen, pick six Stafford. And we it kind of questions. It's like, you know what? Matthew Stafford, yes, I believe is an upgrade over Jared Goff for what we've seen recently from Jared Goff. But at the same time, it's a reason why we still didn't have Stafford necessarily in that top 5, maybe even top 7 elite quarterbacks, even when he had a Megatron, a Golden Tate, a Reggie Bush in the backfield. And I understand the Detroit Lions, they haven't been a really good franchise. And honestly, since Barry Sanders left, and they were pretty subpar with him. But the point, though, is that, some of Matthew Stafford's flashes from Detroit shows up in Los Angeles. And, it's like, if these flashes are going to show up with the pick sixes and this the carelessness with the football, you're not, like we said, Jansen. I remember we had this talk months ago before the season even started. The Super Bowl expectations are the highest, I believe, in NFC for the Rams more than any other team, because when you're getting draft picks or selling draft picks and getting guys like a Jalen Ramsey, like you got, I believe, a year or two ago, you get Von Miller this year, Odell Beckham this year. And they didn't know Robert Woods was going to go down. So they got Odell Beckham because they just want to have him as well. The expectations for the Rams to me is Super Bowl bust. At the very least, if you don't win the Super Bowl, you have to be there. So is it pressure? Do I trust Stafford? Like I said with Dak, I'm gonna say it for the team, and because of Sean McVay, I'll say a 6 out of 10, similar towards Dak, because I believe Stafford will make plays in the playoffs. But at the same time, I'm really trusting more of Sean McVay and his defense more than I trust Stafford. So, hey, it's TBD for him as well. I think he's 0-2 in the playoffs.
Okay, Sean, before we move on to Ethan, let me ask you this. Grade Matthew Stafford's year this year. How do you look at it? Is it an A? Is it a B? Is it a C? He has 38 touchdowns, 15 picks.
Yeah.
That's a high number. Quarterback rating, 103.5.
Yeah.
Over 4,600 passing yards. How do you grade Stafford's year so far? We got one more game, but the 17 games so far.
I give him a B+. I think, the stats are really good. 38 touchdowns, over the top 5 in passing yards. Passer rating is really well, but the 15 picks is still 15 picks. We can say the extra game and whatnot, but the season where last year, the season already ended today then. 15 interceptions is still a lot. And the type of interceptions that were thrown, it's not like this fluky interceptions bounce off the receiver's hands. He was getting twirled around. He threw a pick six on his own 2-yard line against the Titans, I remember, on Sunday night. And he's had some of those plays. So I'm going to give him a B+ right now.
Okay. Ethan, your thoughts on Matthew Stafford? Sean expresses and says this is a championship or bust year. This team needs to get to the Super Bowl. That, like he said, 100% correct. They trade away first-round draft picks. You only do that when you think you can win now. So do you feel like this Rams team at 12-4, one more game, is Super Bowl or bust?
I mean, realistically, yes. I mean, like he said, when you trade all of your draft picks away, what are you looking forward to, losing in the first round to have a better draft pick? Because you don't have one. I mean, so I'll start it with a joke. The Rams' best chance of winning the Super Bowl is by going down one score every single playoff game and letting Stafford do his thing, because for some reason when Matthew Stafford goes down and has a chance to do a game-winning drive, he's one of the best quarterbacks in football at it. If he could play like that for 4 quarters, the Rams would win the Super Bowl, no problem. But again, I think getting Cam Akers back was also very huge for this team. Their running game, it wasn't terrible with Darrell Henderson Jr., but Cam Akers is a different guy out of FSU. I loved him every single minute out of FSU whenever he came through. And again, I mean, you brought up the San Francisco 49ers game. I think that's the one thing the Rams have to be scared of, is if they face a team that can run the ball against them in the playoffs, that's where things are going to get dicey, because their run defense has been a little suspect. Pass defense been a lot better. It has improved over the year. My kind of pick right now, if I had to choose with how everything is set up, was Packers-Rams in Lambeau for the NFC Championship game, a game we've already seen, and we've already basically seen the Rams not really succeed in that game whatsoever. But that's my current pick at the moment. So, yes, do I think the Rams can get to the Super Bowl? It wouldn't surprise me, but it also would not surprise me to see them not get there either if Stafford has a bad game or the defense just has a bad game as well.
Okay, let's talk about pressure real quick, Ethan, and it comes to it. A lot of pressure on the Rams to get to the Super Bowl. Also, Green Bay. The Green Bay Packers have been the NFC Championship game last 2 years. Aaron Rodgers, allegedly, this might be his last season. I don't think so. I think he's going to be back in Green Bay. That's how I personally feel about it. But we'll see. Who's under more pressure to get to the Super Bowl and win it, Ethan? Is it the Rams or is it the Packers?
Well, based on reports of if Rodgers leaves, I mean, the Packers, because Jordan Love, I don't think is taking them to a Super Bowl anytime soon, unless he all of a sudden in the offseason turns into like Patrick Mahomes 2.0 and takes a year off and then he's like an amazing player. But I mean, again, the Packers have not stripped their entire draft stock either. So you have to look at it on either side. It's either the Packers could lose Devontae Adams and Rodgers this year and possibly win the Super Bowl, and there you go. That's fine. Like, you won a Super Bowl, now these guys are gone. The Rams, on the other hand, have invested so much into this team and have basically stripped their draft stock for like 2 or 3 years now to say, we need to win a Super Bowl. So I would say probably the Packers, because there's more of the likelihood that Rodgers and Adams leave than seeing this entire Rams team blown up over the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay, Sean, let me ask you the same question before we move on to the Rams. Is it the Packers move on to the Ravens. Is it the Packers or is the Rams more pressure to get to the Super Bowl this year?
That's a great question. I want to say the Rams because of, coming into the season, the expectations and the trades that they had, the draft picks, like we already mentioned. But I think it does depend on time, and when I say time, is Aaron Rodgers and just like Ethan brilliantly said, and Devontae Adams. If we know that if we can just see into the future and say, okay, Devontae Adams and the Packers will be there next, or Aaron Rodgers will play next season, no matter what happens this year, I would say the Rams because of how much investment the Rams put into the season. But I got to say the Green Bay Packers. Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers posted on their story on Instagram, The Last Dance. That's basically saying, this is do or die this year. And we have to get a Super Bowl. We've been to the NFC Championship twice. We understand our head coach now and Matt LaFleur. We're always there. And somehow, some way, we can't be successful and get there. So this is the season. And Aaron Rodgers arguably MVP again. So I'm gonna say because of time purposes, and they don't understand. They don't really know if Aaron Rodgers is going to be there or not next year. I'm gonna say the Green Bay Packers have more pressure to win the Super Bowl this season compared to the Rams.
Yeah, look, I say it slightly the Packers because of Aaron Rodgers might be gone, but. Mm-hmm. Let's be clear with the Rams, though. If not this year, next year, or a lot of guys going to lose their jobs. Les Snead gone, Sean McVay gone, Stafford, that label of, and a lot of people think this, right? That label of can't win the big game. He's just a stat guy. A lot of people are going to say that. I'm not saying that. Well, I kind of am saying that. Never mind. But you guys get the point. A guy who can't win with a team, no team is perfect, but darn near perfect team. So that would be the narrative around him. Aaron Rodgers would be like, dang. So talented, only won 1 Super Bowl. You would have thought he would have won 2 or 3 of them. But we'll see. It should be an interesting NFC playoff picture. Let's talk about the Ravens. And at one point, people thought the Ravens were a team that could potentially get to the Super Bowl. They're the 11th seed right now. They're 8-8. Lamar Jackson's been having ankle problems. Ethan, I'll talk to you first about this one. What's going on with the Ravens? How do you feel like they'll fare even against your Steelers? How do you look at this team right now?
Well, I mean, Tyler Huntley had his coming out party against Green Bay, right? And that was all good and merry and fun to watch. I thought it was great. And then now you see the ramifications of having a backup quarterback in against very good teams like the Rams this past weekend. He's fine. I'm not saying he's played bad, but he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not. It's very hard to replicate Lamar Jackson. You can run around all like Lamar like all you want. You're just still not going to replicate it. And I mean, I say this coming from what I've watched with this team. The ball has fell their way a lot. I mean, we all remember Justin Tucker's kick against the Detroit Lions that no other kicker in their right mind would ever make, like off the bounce on a crossbar. There have been a lot of times, but we're also talking about the same team that earlier this year beat the Kansas City Chiefs outright for the first time in Lamar Jackson's career. So, I mean, this team is great. It's talented, but you also have to look at the fact that you've had COVID issues, injury issues in the secondary, mainly can't think of his name now. Their main corner. I was going to say
Marcus Peters.
Yeah, Marcus Peters is one of them, and then their other guy that they have too. I mean, it's ridiculous when you look at the amount of injuries they've dealt with. But this is where I kind of get with that whole injury thing with the Ravens. Is I hear Ravens fans, because I have a lot of friends from Baltimore that talk to me about stuff, is they say the injuries are an excuse. The Titans have had 57 different starters this year and are the number 1 seed in the AFC. I didn't say players. I said starters. The only 3 players that have started consistently all 17 weeks are Ryan Tannehill, their kicker, and their punter. That's
Wow.
nuts. So if anybody wants to complain about injuries, go talk to Tennessee, who's about to be the number 1 seed in the AFC this year.
Yeah, man. And look, the punter, people joke about it now, but some of those low-scoring games that we might see in the playoffs in the AFC, you need a good punter, durable punter. So we'll see. And Ryan Tannehill, we'll see if he raises his play up. Sean, your thoughts on the Ravens? And look, there's a 3% chance they can make the playoffs. I think they're done. I think they lose to the Steelers. What's your thoughts on the Ravens, their season, all the injuries, all that?
No, it's definitely been disappointing this year, for the Baltimore Ravens. We've seen earlier in the season, just like Ethan has said, they had the ball bounce their way. Like even against the Chiefs, the Chiefs just needed a field goal. And Carlos, I can't remember, Clyde Hilaire, excuse me, I messed up his last name. He ended up fumbling the ball, and they were basically almost in field goal range. So if that doesn't go their way, Lamar Jackson doesn't get the fourth down, a gutsy call, then they would have lost that game. So the ball definitely has been bouncing their way a lot this year. But it's also, hey, I hate to say it, I love this guy as a coach, John Harbaugh. He has some questionable play calls. Hey, we're going for 2. Hey, we're going to do it again. I think it was a back-to-back weeks, one against the Steelers. And that was with Lamar Jackson. You go to overtime and against Pittsburgh, you might come out with the win. Possibly, maybe not. You know what I mean? And we know that's a rivalry game, but they end up losing that game. Even with Huntley against the Green Bay Packers, you're down 2 scores. He does a tremendous job. The defense, it's a good team effort. They're about to go to overtime at home against Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. And the Green Bay offense at the time they weren't looking too good. The Baltimore Ravens defense stepped up. And you go for 2 again. Mark Andrews with a fade route. Mark Andrews, bad play call. They end up losing that game. So those are 2 potential games where maybe they still lose if they go to overtime or not. But the point is, because it's 50-50 and we don't know, those are games, even though Lamar Jackson has been out, they very well possibly could have won those games or at least split going 1-1. So because of that, it's like the record could be a lot better as well, even though Lamar Jackson didn't play one of the games that I mentioned. So it's disappointing for the Steelers the Baltimore Ravens because Lamar Jackson, he had the first 6 or 7 weeks that we were talking about MVP potentially. And then the last few weeks it's like, can he throw from the pocket? Can he do this? Now those is he even top 10 anymore? You know what I mean? So I think he is, but those questions still tend to rise up as well. With Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. So I would just say it's a disappointing season, like you said, Chance, and they have a 3% chance. Anything's possible, I guess, in the NFL. But I believe Ethan's I think Ethan's confident that his Steelers will get a win against Tyler Huntley and this Baltimore Ravens, battered wing, I should say.
Oh yeah, well TJ Watt's gonna have to break the sack record while he does it.
And TJ Watt's there too. Yeah, he is.
And look, TJ Watt, that's a legit to me MVP like guy right there. What does he only play, like 14 games?
12 full games if you look at the injuries that he's had in the first half of games and was knocked down in the second half.
Yeah, so his game 17 isn't really game 17. So he breaks this record in a time now where a lot of these quote-unquote sack specialists, they're not against the quarterback. A lot of these got 4 sacks, 5 sacks, 7.
They throw a flag too.
Yeah, these guys aren't getting to the quarterback. So TJ Watt, to me, he's getting that respect, but he deserves even more respect. The Watt family, these guys are just made to get to the quarterback. They're just born to get to the quarterback. And if you're a Steelers fan, that's you got maybe the best defender in the league on your team. So that's great for them. Let's talk real quick about the Just Good Network internship program. You could donate at Cash App Jansen with 2 E's or GoFundMe/Just Good Network. Also, we're presented by the Level 1 Game Room and Your Future Media. Let's talk about Antonio Brown, AB. I think he's done. It's hilarious. My personal opinion on it is this. I love it. It's entertaining. But from a professional standpoint, man, this is why you have a PR team. He just doesn't care. He's not professional. He just doesn't hold himself as a professional. I think he pushes the envelope too much. The John Gruden thing was kind of ridiculous. With the Steelers, I guess Big Ben's his guy now. He basically was calling Big Ben in a roundabout way, kind of racist in a way. He was kind of the way they run things. He didn't directly say that, but you guys get the point. That's what it seemed like to me. Correct me if I'm wrong. And you see things in Tampa Bay where Tom Brady was letting him sleep on his couch. And when the GOAT wants you there, you're probably going to get there. But now with the Bruce Arians thing, and I don't know what's true or not true. He looked fine when he was dancing around and taking the shirt off. But it's all great entertainment. I think he just dropped the rap song. It's pretty good. Somebody sent it to me. It sounds pretty good. I like it. I've seen the interviews. It's all over social media. So if that's his goal, personally, then thumbs up. But his NFL career, to me, is over. He's 34 years old, talented, should make the Hall of Fame. I don't know if they're going to TO him and have him wait, but he should be in the Hall of Fame. But he's just been a clown. Personally, like him, but he's an entertainer at this point. Ethan, I'll start with you because he used to play for your team. Is Antonio Brown done? And what's your thoughts on the whole saga with him?
As I had one person comment on something on Facebook when I posted about it, not only did he run off the field and throw his jersey off, he threw his gold jacket in the garbage. That is what a person said to me. I, again, agree with you. It is entertainment. It's fun to see this stuff happen, but it's also on the deeper side of things. I always go back to one moment in Antonio Brown's career and his history where Vontaze Burfict came across the middle, hit him right square in the head, pretty much, and won the Steelers a playoff game, albeit. Ever since then, though, is when you've started to slowly see him go down. And you even have Ryan Clark on ESPN saying he's been like this all along. He's been like this all along. And who do you credit that to? You have to credit that to Mike Tomlin. I mean, the dude's dealt with Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Chase Claypool, and Juju Smith-Schuster in a matter of 7 years. It's a lot to deal with. But with Antonio Brown, I mean, again, Jansen, like you said, if his whole point is to get a bunch of clout at this point, go fight Jake Paul in a boxing match. Go do that too. That'll get your clout up real fast. But realistically, the one thing I always go back to is the health and wellness of players. And I think that at some point he did get hit too many times. And I think there's like underlying CTE stuff that's going on up there. That's just that I give him the benefit of the doubt on that because obviously we don't know that yet. But some of the stuff he does is ridiculous. I would go as far as you said and call him a clown too. It's kind of upsetting because we were watching one of the best wide receivers to me to ever do it not even 5 years ago. And then now you look at who would have told you 5 years ago this is what Antonio Brown would have turned into. Like, that's really where I look at it.
Absolutely, too. And you being a Steelers fan, you remember when he was on top of his game, Le'Veon Bell, even though I'm a Jets fan, unfortunately, I remember when Le'Veon Bell was actually good. I was so excited. I was like, man, we got Le'Veon Bell. We're going to win some. I remember when he was good, Big Ben, you guys were rolling. And then it all just came apart. A lot of people blame Mike Tomlin. But here's my thing, too. And you answer this, Ethan, before we move on to Sean. When these guys start getting good and they start becoming really, really good, why are some of these guys just getting out of control with the ego? Is it a maturity thing? Or they're starting to see that, okay, they really need me. I'm that talented. Do they get the big head? What do you think was going on with guys like Antonio Brown? I guess the diva-like guys in the past, people want to say T.O. or Randy Moss, Chad Johnson a little bit. What do you think goes through these guys' head?
Well, I think a lot of it attributes to these guys have been the best player on their team in high school. They were the best player on their team in college. They were like the best receiver player at their position in college. So then they get to the pros and they come out and they play well because you see it a lot of times. Rookies come out, they want to make a statement. But then they make that statement and they think, oh, okay, this is just like what it used to be, like college and high school. So then they get this big ego and everything. And I think what happens to a lot of players is they have that one moment in their career where somebody hits them too hard, or they drop a game-winning touchdown pass, or throw an interception on the final drive of a game that would have put the team in the playoffs. And then something clicks in their head. And then when that click happens, that's when you really start to see these great players. And I think, again, like you said, I think it's just mainly a maturity thing, especially like right now with Chase Claypool. I think it's just going to be something in the offseason he's going to have to fix. But you've seen it all over the place, though. I mean, I'm talking about – this is the first time in my life I'm talking about sports that guys are younger than me that I'm talking about at this point. Usually it's like the same age, but now I'm talking about guys that are younger than me. So, I mean – maturity has to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Sean, your thoughts on AB, Antonio Brown, AB 84, whatever you want to call him. You've seen the interviews, Mr. Big Chest. You've seen what happened with Tampa Bay. You heard Bruce Arians and his statements of what happened. You heard what AB had to say. I'm sure you saw the interview. What's your thoughts on him, and is his career over?
It's tough because initially, when all that stuff had broke loose, when he put up the deuces basically to the fans, I was like, he's basically saying he's retiring. I mean, I understand, and that's why he got up the crowd. Yeah, you can say he's just trying to like, a butt, I should say, but at the same time, it's like I feel like he even knew that in his post right after the game, football doesn't make me. You know what I mean? Life is after football. There's still life after football. So I think when all that adrenaline, everything is going on, it's almost like Antonio Brown. He's prepared for life without football. So I feel like in his head, what was going on right after. I mean, like that Sunday, right after the game ended in New York, it's like, you know what? I'm gonna make the post, go to the game tomorrow in Brooklyn, things like that. He understands the spotlight's on him, and it's like, look, if I don't play football, I don't play football. But of course, just like in any situation, anytime the adrenaline's down, you end up really thinking about what just happened. Then he said, I believe a day or two later, now it's the text messages or the screenshots dealing what happened with Bruce Arians and the trainer and this and that. And he's like, basically, hey, in so many words, I appreciate the Bucs organization for giving me another chance. But at the same time, I mean, this is the truth. This is what happened. You know what I mean? Booming season next year, he still has his mindset is, now it clicks like I still want to play, and so initially I would have said it's 100% chance he's not playing ever again. But depending on what happens, I believe whether we give him the benefit of the doubt or not, or organizations the truth, I say it's a 85% chance he doesn't play anymore. But depending on, more clarity about the situation and, the text messages, this and that, I think it's a 15% chance that if it ends up turning and making Bruce Arians look bad or the organization, depending on, again, more clarity about the situation, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a chance. Initially, I'm like, there's no way because, the shoulder pads and everything and how it looked. But if we get more clarity about the situation and it I guess, favors Antonio Brown's situation, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he possibly at least gets a workout or gets signed. And real quick, Jansen, just like you asked Ethan about, I guess some of the players, like, was it like if it's an ego thing? I believe as well it's social media and accessibility because, Antonio Brown has been a legend. After he left Pittsburgh, he was already a legend. He had Hall of Fame numbers. You know what I mean? And he's not like he's 24. He's 34 years old. But I believe because of social media and how much more accessible it's continuing to get, towards these players. And yes, Twitter and these things have been out for a while, but because it continues to grow each and every year, I do believe that it's like, hey, I mean, I do believe it's a humbling experience as well. You have to have, the right head on your shoulders because it doesn't matter how old you are. But if you continue to put up these numbers, and you've been out of college for like 10 plus years, whatever it is, and you've been an athlete and, we've seen Antonio Brown with Drake and, certain videos and things like that. I think it's really because of the social media presence and how much bigger you can, you can continue to become. And we've seen Jake Paul before he was even a boxer. He was a YouTuber, I heard, you know what I mean? And the fact that he's 23 years old, 24 years old, and he's getting big from that. I believe if you have any type of success and you're really good at your craft and you have a following outside of football, I just think it comes from that no matter what age you are. So Antonio Brown, will he play again? Potentially, I say, but if I had to roll the dice, I would say, I think his career might be over, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a workout.
Absolutely. I think his career is over. I do see Antonio Brown continuing to drop music. I think he just dropped a video. I watched him. I heard it. It was okay. All right. It was all right. I see a better chance of him being on a reality show. I could see that. Ethan talked about it. And I think maybe it's Jake Paul next or Logan Paul. Maybe he'll get into the exhibition fighting. Look, it's that type of world it's weird. Guys are just getting in the ring, NBA players, ex-football players. Why not Antonio Brown? So maybe that was his goal. But I see him doing reality TV, continuing to rap, and potentially fighting Jake Paul, Logan Paul over playing the NFL again. And I say that because when you do this to an organization like Tampa Bay that is going to go back to the playoffs and has a chance to win a Super Bowl, Tom Brady, Bruce Arians, who else is going to want him? That's how I look at it.
No, I agree.
Want him. I don't think the Rams would want him. Plus, he's 34 years old. If we're talking about a guy who was like 27, 28, 30 maybe, I think he could still play at a high level if he gets focused. But I just don't think it's going to happen. I think that it's over for AB. Love AB personally. I think he's the clown thing, the he's entertaining. So maybe those fields will work better for him. Let's transition to a surprise in the league. Who do you guys see, like nobody's talking about, but potentially will make some noise in the playoffs? Let's start with you, Ethan.
Well, I know they just lost this past Sunday, so they lost a lot of the momentum that a lot of people were talking about. But my parents keep asking me, and they're like, who can beat Kansas City in the AFC? And I said, there's 2 teams that can beat Kansas City in the AFC, I think, realistically, maybe 3. The Titans are number 1. We just saw Derrick Henry come off of IR. If he comes back healthy any way that he plays normally, the Titans might make the Super Bowl and might win it. I would go as far as saying that. But if we're talking about a dark horse, this team, just like I said, just lost this past Sunday, Indianapolis, man. If you get a good game out of Carson Wentz and Jonathan Taylor does his normal thing, before this past Sunday, they were 9-0 in games when Jonathan Taylor ran the ball for more than 100 yards. That was the first time they lost a game all year against a Raiders team that was playing for John Madden, I think, with like rest in peace to an absolute legend. But I would say the Colts in the AFC have to be my dark horse. And then the NFC, it's kind of hard to say there's a dark horse because it's so top heavy. It's like, I mean, every single team is like around that same record. But I mean, I would still watch the Cowboys. I mean, I know I mentioned earlier that I think they can win one playoff game. But man, if you get that team on a roll and Micah Parsons starts playing really well against that defense, right? You could be looking at Dallas playing in the Super Bowl as well. So, I mean, Dallas and Indianapolis, I think, have to be the 2 teams you look at. But I think dark horses, definitely you're looking more in the AFC right now, just because the NFC, again, as we mentioned earlier, is basically 4 or 5 teams, and then the other 2 are just kind of there.
Sean, who's your dark horse team headed into the playoffs?
I'm gonna say the Buffalo Bills. You know, they've been on a little winning streak. You know, they end up coming back against the New England Patriots after they beat them. The Patriots beat them, I believe, on a Monday night about a month ago, and they pretty much manhandled them. And yes, you know, for the fantasy people out there, you know, I've been watching every Buffalo game because I have Dawson Knox, Josh Allen, and Stephon Diggs, so I'm really glued into the TV and seeing what they're doing. You know, and against my Falcons. Hate to see it, you know, and it cost me a championship in the fantasy championship league. You know, Josh Allen threw 3 interceptions and he ran for 2. And so it was kind of a 50-50. I want to win my fantasy championship game with some money on the side, but at the same time, I want the Falcons to win. And of course, we end up winning the bed and we end up losing against the Bills. But, you know, when this Bills team is clicking, man, I believe they were like ranked the top 5 offense. They have, I don't know if it's number 1 passing or they throw the ball the most. And when you have a guy like Josh Allen, who I believe this year isn't as great as last year, but you can still see he's still a young player. He's still continuing to ascend. And I always give Jansen credit because he said Josh Allen was going to be that guy going into the 2020 season. And he was that guy this year. MVP consideration. He's not going to get it. But he's still, look, he's if we want to be honest, he's one of the best third quarterbacks in the game today. I believe he has over, 6 or 8 rushing touchdowns this year. I don't know the exact stats. We know he has one of the best arms in the league. And his defense with Micah Hyde, you know, and these guys, you know, they're continuing to come along as well. So I'm gonna say the Buffalo Bills. They went to the AFC Championship last year. You know, I just believe they can put up a shootout with anyone. You know, but it's just about sometimes, and I say this sometimes, what Josh Allen are we gonna get? You know, I said this to Jansen as well. I think Carson Wentz is a poor man's Josh Allen, and I say that because this year Carson Wentz is having a better season than he did last year in Philadelphia. He was atrocious, but we've seen Carson Wentz. Hey, he has talent. He'll make those wild, crazy throws, and you know he'll slip some tackles and make a weird throw or a weird play. But we see that from Josh Allen as well. He can be wild. He can throw 3 interceptions in a game, but he can also be. He has that gunslinger mentality where, hey, I'm not going to slide. I'm 6'5", probably 240. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and try to truck over a linebacker. I'm gonna make these throws. I might throw 4 touchdowns, 2 picks, have a fumble, but it's just that competitiveness in him. So I'm gonna say the Buffalo Bills out the AFC. If I had to pick an NFC team, I would lean more towards the Arizona Cardinals because they didn't have DeAndre Hopkins getting that big win against the Dallas Cowboys this past weekend. You know, and they didn't have, I believe, as well, the top 2 cornerbacks as well playing. So if they get guys healthy for the playoffs, watch out for them.
Okay. Look, it's tough, man. And back to the Josh Allen thing, he still scares me because the way he played against Atlanta, yeah, the stats look good running. You're throwing 3 interceptions. I don't – it's weird, man, because Josh Allen, some games I watch, I'm like, yeah, he's a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback. And then other games I watch, I'm like, are you serious? Did you just make that play? That's how I feel about Josh Allen. But that year, I was spot on with him. But I'm not going to lie. The AFC, they should go either way. And that's how I feel about the NFC too. But my dark horse team in the AFC is the Bengals. Why is it the Bengals? I think there is no pressure on the Bengals at all. Joe Burrow has been playing on a high level. I love when they give the ball to Joe Mixon. He's a top running back in this league. Jamar Chase is incredible. He is just incredible. I wish he played for the Jets, but he probably wouldn't be as good as he played for the Jets, right? That's usually how things go. But back to that Cincinnati Bengals team. They could throw with anybody. And I wouldn't be surprised if they make a run to the AFC Championship game. And if they get to the AFC Championship game, anything could happen. So that's my dark horse team. Look, I don't want to see it happen, but New England is a dangerous team too. They get in the playoffs. They start running the football. If they could get some turnovers, anything could happen. Obviously, the Chiefs are the favorite, but watch out. Watch out for the Bengals. Watch out for the Patriots too. Because Bill Belichick, he's no stranger to big games, obviously. So you got to put the Patriots up there. The NFC, wow. Is there really a dark horse team? As you ask Cowboy fans, they feel like they're going to the Super Bowl, which is how they've been beaten up on the NFC East. I don't know what's going to happen in the NFC. I just know there's jobs on the line. There's quarterbacks that need to perform. Because I'm looking – I can't call them a dark horse team because they won the Super Bowl last year. I was going to say Tampa Bay because there's no pressure on Tampa Bay. There's no pressure on Tom Brady. They can lose in the first round. Nobody cares. Literally, nobody cares they lose in the first round. The Cowboys lose in the first round? Oh, my gosh. You're not going to hear the end of it. And they're matched up against Cardinals. I guess I'm going to go with the Cardinals. They shocked me. I thought the Cowboys would have beat them. That was a game the Cowboys, to me, needed. That should have been a statement game for the Cowboys. They should have shut down Kyler Murray. Dak Prescott, he had the 3 touchdowns. He played well in the fourth quarter. He should have been balling out. They should have been running the football. It should have been a beating. That's what should have happened, but it didn't happen. So I'm going to say the Cardinals. I wouldn't be surprised they beat the Cowboys because even me, I fooled myself thinking the Cowboys are that good just because they're beating up on Washington. They scored 56 on Washington. They're playing these Heineke in Washington. They're beating the Giants. They're beating these bad teams. So I'm starting to think, man, maybe they got a really good defense. I'm not saying they're bad. It's just keep that same energy when Green Bay comes around. Keep that same energy when the Rams come around because those teams are not playing. Keep that same energy again when Tampa Bay plays them. You saw against Tampa Bay. It was a shootout. So we'll see. We'll see. But definitely, and I agree with you, Daryl, a lot of pressure on the Packers and the Rams. Need to win championships. So those are my thoughts on that. Guys, let's talk about – excuse me. I kind of need a cough. But – let's transition to the most disappointing team this season. I've just been having these throat problems all day. Ethan, what team has been the most disappointing team to you so far this year?
You could probably guess who I'm going to say, but what did I have to hear about all offseason as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan? The Cleveland Browns are going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. The Cleveland Browns are going to do this. The Cleveland Browns are going to do this. Now they're 7-9. Nobody knows if Baker Mayfield's even going to be their quarterback next year. And they had one of the most disappointing seasons of the entire year. I think they are the most disappointing team we've seen all year. If you had to go elsewhere other than the Cleveland Browns, out of my unbiased opinion, I know this is going to be a little weird one, but Chicago traded away their first-round pick to get Justin Fields. They're supposed to make their offense more dynamic. Matt Nagy was supposed to do this and that about, like, a lot of different things. He was supposed to step away from certain play-calling duties and just head coach. And they just never found their footing. I mean, they're 6-10 now, but that's because they played the Giants last weekend. And, I mean, all three of us sitting here threw for more yards than the Giants did offensively on Sunday. But I definitely think you have to throw Chicago in that boat too. And then if I had to name one more team based off what I saw at the beginning of the year, the Carolina Panthers just fell apart. I mean, they looked like a real team that could make the playoffs at one point. Darnold looked like he found out his footing. He found like this change of scenery was really good. And then it just all blew up in their face. And I don't know whatever happened. I haven't watched a ton of Carolina Panthers football this year. I mean, I know McCaffrey got hurt again, and there's reports they might trade him. And I said, if they trade him, come to Pittsburgh and be a receiver. I don't even care. We'll use Najee and CMC somehow. Make it work, right? But I would have to say pretty much – I would say Cleveland, Chicago, Carolina, and then if I had to throw one more in there as well, Washington. When you have that many good defensive players on your defense and you're 6-10 now, And you just won the division last year, too. That's a lot of expectations, but let's see what that name is on the 22nd of February, and then we'll start talking about the Washington football team again.
Okay. Sean, I'm interested to hear what you guys say. Most disappointing team this year to you?
I'm gonna say the Seattle Seahawks, man. I'm a big Russell Wilson fan. Him and Cam Newton, my favorite quarterbacks in the league. The Seattle Seahawks. It's disappointing. I understand Russ being out 3 games. What do you expect? I believe Russell Wilson, healthy, is a top 5 quarterback. But hey, even when he got back, they lost against the Chicago Bears with Nick Foles a couple weeks ago. Crazy game in the snow, very good game, but you don't lose that game. You don't lose the game when you're up 5 or 4 minutes left in the game, and some crazy things happen. And even Russ sometimes, I think he came back a little bit premature with the injury, but he has. Even though he's kind of, nicked up, I think his game is kind of taking a step back just a little bit. I still think he's an elite quarterback to me personally, but, so now you hear the trade rumors with Russ again. Possibly Pete Carroll. Is he going to leave this? Is he going to leave the Seattle Seahawks? Should they break up that marriage, quote unquote? So I'm going to say that the Seattle Seahawks, they were 12-4 last year. They won the division. They were one and done in the playoffs. Not shockingly, because the Rams have their number. They always beat them. They find a way to beat Russ and Seattle Seahawks somehow, some way. So I'm gonna say the Seattle Seahawks to me is the most disappointing team, just because we've seen Seattle make the playoffs year in and year out, year in and year out. And yes, Russell Wilson has been healthy year in and year out. It's the first season he's missed any games. But even with Geno Smith, and they got one win, I forgot who it was. Oh, it's against Jacksonville when they got Geno that one win. But still, they had a close game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Couldn't pull it out. Yes, it was with Geno Smith, but sometimes I feel like even if you don't have your star guy, you gotta at least pull out a couple of victories. And I feel like with Seattle, it's kind of disappointing. Again, the last game or 2 games ago against the Chicago Bears, you don't lose that game. They had a shootout against the Detroit Lions, although they blew them out. So I'm gonna say Seattle to me is the most disappointing, just because they've been so consistent year in and year out. And so that's my team.
I'm going to say the Cleveland Browns because. And I think amongst Cleveland fans, at least what I see on Twitter and these Facebook groups, some people are blaming the offensive line. He was sacked 9 times. Other people, they blame Baker Mayfield. I just don't think he's a big game quarterback. I think Baker's all right, but is he a $40 million guy? I don't think so. I don't think this team wants to commit to Baker Mayfield. I do believe they're going to be in the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes, and they should be in the Russell Wilson sweepstakes, because I think teams like Cleveland, teams like the Steelers, if Big Ben doesn't come back, they get one of those 2 quarterbacks, they're Super Bowl favorites. They could get to the Super Bowl. That's how I feel about it, but we'll see. But outside of Cleveland, I'm a little bit disappointed in the Bills. I thought the Bills would be one of those teams that'll be 13-3, show some dominance. I'm looking at the standings, and there's no way in heck they should be 10-6 right now. Yeah, you guys just beat up on Atlanta. Okay, whoop-de-doo. Nobody cares. You beat a New England team who has a rookie quarterback, which you guys should be better than New England. Yeah, they got the division lead, and they need to win against the Jets, which they should, to clinch the division. But you and the Patriots are 10-6. To me, that's a little bit unacceptable. And I know it's nitpicking a little bit, but I expect a little bit more from the Bills. I expect them to be the number 1 or number 2 seed. So I'm a little bit disappointed in the Bills. But we'll see if they can make it up in the playoffs, because let's just get things right. The way this offense is, the way they're committed to Josh Allen and Diggs, and the way he might be the best dual-threat quarterback in the league, they need to make some noise. A first-round exit to the Patriots, to me, would be unacceptable. So we'll see if Josh Allen can be consistent. Against Atlanta, at times he was terrible, and then he made up for it. But watching that game, just pick after pick after pick, they worry me. Josh Allen and the Bills worry me a little bit, but I definitely think they're one of the more disappointing teams. Let's move on to our final question. Thoughts on Cam Newton and Big Ben's career? You guys' thoughts on that? Ethan, I know you want to break down Big Ben's career. What's your thoughts on him? Is there even a chance you think he's coming back? I know you pay attention to that closely, and you've been looking at that situation. What are you hearing about Big Ben and if he's going to come back?
I think based off of the post-game interview and everything that happened Monday night, he's not coming back. There's no way. I don't think he comes back at all. I mean, it'd be nice to see them get in the playoffs, but I have to root for Jacksonville to beat Indianapolis at that point. So, I mean, that's going to be interesting. But you look at Big Ben's career over time, and what I hear from people that are a little bit older than me that watch the Steelers in the 90s, they really say that he reinvigorated this franchise. I mean, from the 70s, like after the 80s, or after the 70s, the 80s and the 90s, they were in one Super Bowl, and they threw that Super Bowl away pretty much because, I mean, they quite literally threw it away. But I mean, Ben reinvigorated the franchise. He came in, won 15 of his first 16 games as a rookie quarterback, got this team to a Super Bowl in 05 with Bill Cowher, won that, got him back to it again in 2008, had arguably the best play in Super Bowl history to Santonio Holmes, gets there in 2010 again, can't beat Aaron Rodgers, because that's crazy, because if my Steelers could have beat Aaron Rodgers in that Super Bowl, Rodgers would not have a Super Bowl right now.
That'd be crazy.
That would be nuts to think
Close
about.
game too.
Oh, yeah, it was a very close game, and it was one that I thought we should have won, too, when you go back and watch it. But, I mean, what I always tell people about Big Ben is when they talk about his legacy and everything that happened Monday night, take everything that happened off the field aside for, like, just a second and look at what he was as a player, how good he used to be. Because if you go watch Big Ben highlights from 6-7 years ago or whenever he was first in the league, you couldn't bring the guy down. You could be a 350-pound defensive tackle, have him fully wrapped around you, and he's still going to find a way to run out of there. And he wasn't a mobile guy, but he could run if he needed to. But I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, 2-time Super Bowl champion in that 60,000-yard like little group now. And I mean, again, I think even if they don't make the playoffs, beating Baltimore this Sunday would be his great curtain call. Like you beat Cleveland and Baltimore to end your career, that would be a great way to do it. But now, as Jansen has heard me talk about multiple times, what do they do after that is really the biggest question. And I think he's going to have some say in it too. I think he's going to have a lot of say in it, even though he might not be a part of the organization anymore.
Okay, yeah, maybe they'll bring him on as the coach. Your thoughts on Cam Newton? I personally think his career is over. He had his time when he went to the Super Bowl. He had some solid years, some unlucky injuries. I think Cam's done though. Your thoughts on Cam Newton though, Ethan? Is do you see him being a starter next season, or retire, or be a backup somewhere?
I think basically what we've seen from him this year in Carolina, it was a fun story at first, like I'm back, like that was great and all. And it lasted like a week, and then it was like, okay, cool. Cam Newton still isn't Cam Newton anymore. He's basically kind of like, at this point, I've kind of attributed him to a Taysom Hill type. Like he could be a Taysom Hill type guy for an offense. And I say that because, I mean, you look at what Carolina did this past weekend when I was watching Red Zone. Every time I saw them play, it looked like Darnold was throwing a pass and then Cam Newton was coming in for a run. And I'm like, well, what is he now? So you never know. Maybe Cam Newton drops weight and becomes a running back. You never know that. I mean, we've seen crazier things. I mean, we've seen Tim Tebow become a tight end. We've seen all that stuff. But you look at Cam Newton's career, too. I mean, he did get to a Super Bowl. I think a lot of people forget that because he lost that Super Bowl, and everybody remembers him not diving on the football after he fumbled and all that. I don't think he didn't mean to not dive on the football. I just don't think he was ever going to get it anyway. But, I mean, NFL MVP, too. I've seen him play in person, even being a Georgia fan as well. He ripped us apart when he was at Auburn multiple times. I mean, I just always liked the way he played. He had that swagger, that charisma, and he really was kind of the start of the mobile quarterback in the NFL a little bit over these recent couple years. If you really look at how Carolina ran their offense with him, I just really wish we would have got prime Cam Newton and prime healthy Christian McCaffrey together. That offense would just be electric and fun to watch every single week.
Absolutely. Sean, your thoughts on Cam Newton? We'll start with him, and then on Big Ben potentially retiring.
Excuse me. Yeah, man. Just like I said, Russell Wilson and Cam Newton are my favorite quarterbacks. You know what I mean? And it's a little sad seeing Cam. Looking at this press conference every week like I've done the last few years. It's kind of sad seeing him kind of lose a little confidence. You know what I mean? And it's like he even had to say in his speech, no, I don't want this to be a retirement speech, but he's kind of dwelling on the past, the 2015 season, NFL MVP. When I look at Cam as well, it's funny because, a little bit what Ethan said about Big Ben. If you take off the field stuff, I know Cam hasn't really had since he's been in the NFL, any off the field issues, breaking the law or anything like that, or allegedly whatever it is, but of course, a lot of people always go, it's 50-50 with Cam. We don't like the celebrations. You're a quarterback. It's always some type of controversy, I believe, with Cam. Some people love it. Some people hate it. But all that being aside, I believe if you look back at the career with Cam Newton, I mean, he has the most, at least one rushing touchdowns, at least a passing touchdown combined in one game by any quarterback in NFL history. He has the most rushing touchdowns by quarterback in NFL history. I don't believe he's going to have them. I don't think he has the most rushing yards. I don't know if it's still Michael Vick or not. But Cam Newton is definitely one of the best throw-thread quarterbacks we've ever seen. His size, he had in his prime a great arm as well. And as an Atlanta Falcons fan, of course I'm going against Cam, twice this season. But this being entertaining, and it's like Ethan said as well. The swag and everything that Cam brought, it brought fun to the game. That's why I've really been a big fan of Cam. And I'll say this: Cam hasn't had a great season this year, but if you want to really go down the spectrum, or depending on what spectrum you look at, I say this. As a fan, I like to see him get a full season of a full off season. And New England, he didn't have that. He didn't have the weapons there. But as well, when you still have opportunities, I believe you still got to, shine. He had 13 rushing touchdowns last year as a New England Patriot. I know he plays the quarterback position. He can still run. And he's inconsistent with his passing. A lot of his football is going to dirt sometimes. It's not the most accurate. So I can see him. I don't say he should be a starter in the league, but I think if he has a full offseason, understanding the playbook. He got into the Carolina Panthers. They were bad before he got there. He got there in week 10. You're learning a whole new receiving core, even though he was only going about 2 years from Carolina. But I think, Cam is more of a rhythm quarterback. If he gets in the rhythm and he can, get his familiarity, his confidence up, I think he can have a decent game. We've seen the first game that he had as a starter against the Washington football team, albeit the Washington football team. But this is a team that won 6 in a row. Played really well. Washington won the game. A lot of his first drives to Carolina, because I've been watching a lot of their games as well because of Cam. He does well, leads them down, throws a touchdown. He gets in the end zone. But somewhere, somehow, again, this team's still a bad team. He starts, again, his confidence gets shattered. Christian McCaffrey isn't there. He messes up. You know what I mean? Then if you got, as person who played football, if you're on a leash, basically, every second you might be brought out or not, or you can't get a rhythm, your confidence can be shaken. So I think Cam's confidence has been shaken. Again, I'll just end with this. I like to see him have a full, be with one team, have a full offseason, learn the playbook completely. But at the same time, I mean, you gotta do the best with your opportunities. And with Cam in New England and Carolina, he doesn't look like he's lost a step. But I think with Cam, I'll end off with this. He has Hall of Fame talent. And what I mean by that is it's something we've never seen before. The stats won't always speak for it, so we probably won't get in, even though he has Pro Bowls and MVP. But at the same time, I think it's something we've never seen before. It's similar like with the Michael Vick. They have Hall of Fame talent, but I don't think they'll get into the Hall of Fame just because of if you look at stats and how many Super Bowls and things like that. So, and real quick with Ben Roethlisberger, I like Ben. His last couple of years, I don't think he's been nowhere near elite status, but he still has his flashes. It was pretty cool to see him go against the Cleveland Browns, like you said, a rivalry game in Cleveland, and hopefully against Baltimore. I've been a pretty big fan of Ben. I respect him. He's not the most mobile, but you can't bring him down. And I've always liked the 425 games in Pittsburgh, with Joe Buck and CBS. It's always a good feeling watching the Pittsburgh game, because they always had, tough schedule and some really entertaining games in the past. So I respect Ben. He's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer to me.
Sean, let me ask you this. Matt Rule and the Panthers, they're 5-11. Do you think they tell Cam, hey, we're going to bring you back at the start of next year? Do you think there's any possibility that happens? I know you would like to see it, but do you think Matt Rule –
to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Cam and Matt Rule are going, because I know Matt Rule just got there last year, but it's something with – I don't know, man. I would say no. I don't think Cam's going to be there. I would like to see him at least play this last game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a fan. But at the same time, man, I mean, I don't know. Some coaches, it's kind of like the Urban Meyer situation. Two totally different coaches. He's more professional, but I just don't see Matt Rule as being there longer than 3 years. He might be there next year, but I don't see Matt Rule being the guy for the Carolina Panthers. Is Cam going to be there? I highly doubt it. But at the same time, I mean, is this draft class the best as far as who you can draft? And if you don't get a free agent, if you don't get a marquee free agent, Deshaun Watson, potential Russell Wilson, I mean, to me, if you have Cam as a full offseason, I think he can play a lot better than what he played this year. But I doubt it. I don't think he'll be there either.
Okay. Real quickly, guys, let's pick the Chiefs and Broncos games. They play today at 4:30, and then the Cowboys and Eagles. I'm picking the Chiefs to beat the Broncos. I think the Broncos, they're kind of in let's see what we got next year mode type of thing. Chiefs, they're playing for positioning in the AFC. I think they look sharp, and I think the Chiefs win by 2 touchdowns. Sean, you real quickly on that game. Chiefs or Broncos?
I got the Chiefs, man.
Okay.
So
Ethan?
Chiefs 100%. Chiefs 100%. And like you said, winning by 2 touchdowns, they win and cover, and the overhits. Just because of Kansas. The overhits because of Kansas City.
Okay. And see, Ethan broke that down for everybody thinking about betting on that game. So great breakdown on that. Cowboys at Eagles, I think it'll be tricky in the beginning, but I ultimately see the Cowboys doing what they always do. Beat up on the NFC East. I think the Cowboys win 27-14. Sean, your thoughts? Who do you got in this game?
I want to say Cowboys. I don't know why. I got this grin on. I'm saying Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, man. I don't know what it is in Philly. I'm a Jalen Hurts fan as well. For some reason, I got the Eagles in this one, man. I can't even explain why. I'm just going with Philly.
Who you got, Ethan?
I think the Cowboys are going to win close. I know you said earlier they need to make a statement, but Philly is also trying to make a statement too. They already clinched the playoff spot, so they're trying to show why they're supposed to be a playoff team, despite probably the easiest schedule I've ever seen in the history of the world. I think the Cowboys win close. I think they win by 3 or 4. Now, if this game was in Dallas, I think Dallas wins by 2 touchdowns. But the fact that it's in Philly, a night game in the middle of January, that's going to be a little tough. But I still think Dak and the Cowboys do enough to win. I would still take Philly +4, though, just because, again, I think Dallas wins by a field goal.
All right. We'll see what happens. Kickoff is at 4:30 today. Chiefs at Broncos. I love all these division games in Week 18. I'm excited. I can't wait.
Would you play the starters, Jansen? I'm sorry. Would you play Dallas starters? Would you play them if you were the coach the whole game? Real quick.
That's a good question. No.
Okay.
I
wouldn't. I wouldn't. Next week is you know how Cowboy fans are. I know a lot of Cowboy fans who think this team go to the Super Bowl. So give these guys their rest. They're going to need it. No excuses. Everybody needs to be healthy. So
and fun fact about Dallas before we cut off and everything, they're the only team in the NFL that is undefeated in their division this year.
Yeah.
The only one. Wild.
I think they extended today, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm Jansen Harris, the final play on the Just Good Network, and appreciate you guys joining me on today. Sean Fowler, Ethan Smith. Remember, guys, donate to the Just Good Network internship program. Cash App Jansen 2 E's or the GoFundMe /Just Good Network. You guys have a blessed day.
Appreciate it, man.